Well, how's it going, everybody? That's right, Bishu's back on YouTube to do one little Star Wars video. I'm still not quite ready to be on camera, which is why you are going to be looking at a lot of graphics and this little cartoon image of me. Hope that will suffice for this, but with all things that are going on in the Star Wars universe right now, all the rumors and all the things that we want to see, I decided that I wanted to make a video talking about the things that I would like to see Disney eventually getting around to. Now, there is a lot of things I would like to see, so I'm going to consider this the first volume of things that I want to see. So there are 8 sort of story ideas or project ideas that I would really love Disney to do. And so, let's not waste any further time and let's just jump into it, shall we? Alright guys, so the first series that I would love to see Disney do eventually is actually a follow-up to something that they've already done. It would be, well, or it could also be a before and after something they've already done, depending on how they wanted to go about doing it. But the thing that I would love to see Disney tackle is a Crimson Dawn series. I think one of the coolest things to come out of Solo: A Star Wars Story is that last scene, or near to last scene in the movie, when you see Kira sticking that ring in the thing and the hologram pops up and it's none other than Darth Maul that she's talking to. What a wow moment for people in the movie theater who hadn't been following Clone Wars or Rebels up until that point. And oh my god, Darth Maul is still alive. And I think it would be really, really interesting to see. They could easily get a 5 to 6 season series out of the story, I think, depending on how they wanted to go about it. Starting before, we did get to see a little glimpse of Dryden Voss in the last season of the Clone Wars. Just a teeny tiny hint of connective tissue. I think you could easily get away with doing, maybe 2 seasons that take place prior to the events of Solo. I'm seeing Maul kind of digging his claws in deeper with all of these, mafia type, bosses and things like that, until, eventually, we get to the events of Solo, and then to see what happens after the events of Solo. You could easily get, 3 or 4 more seasons, after, kind of showing, because right now there's a time period in between after Solo and before Rebels Season 2 that we don't have in Maul's story. There are 2 aspects of Maul's life that we don't really have. The other I will cover later on, because it has to do with another idea for a series. But, there's one blank space that we have, and it's, in between. I mean, we can assume when we see him leaving the crashing starfighter in Season 7 of Clone Wars, that he's going off to start whatever he's doing with these crime lords. So, that's sort of an easy connect. You could just leave it there if you wanted to. So you don't have to do a before Solo: A Star Wars Story part. But I think it would be kind of cool to get a, what has Maul been doing since the last time we saw him in Clone Wars, and when we see Kira talking to him in Solo: A Star Wars Story, we could see him kind of getting closer with Voss. That would kind of, I think it would be cool if we got to see more of Dryden Voss. Paul Bettany does such a great character, or job playing this character. It's sad that we get him in one movie and he dies in the same movie, often like Maul himself originally in The Phantom Menace, and so I would love to see this character kind of built out and see more of, if we could maybe, in the start of Season 1, it could start off with, the first season just being about Dryden Voss and Crimson Dawn. Maybe we get to see how he gets Kira out of the position she's in Corellia, and leading into season 2 and 3, where we really get to see Maul's involvement, with them and whatnot. And then, after the first 3 seasons, that's when, Solo Star Wars story can take place. And we know what Kira's about to do, by that time. We know that she's about to contact Maul, because we've seen what leads up to that in this new series. And so it's like, oh man, it just makes it that much more juicy and fun. And then, what happens after? When Han and her, split ways, what does Kira do with Maul now? And how, where does her story kind of end? Because we don't know whether she dies. We don't know whether Maul kills her. Maybe they have some sort of dispute. Maybe her and Maul part ways and she becomes the new leader of Crimson Dawn for a while. We have no idea what happens to that story, and I think it would be great to not only get the rest of Kira's story, but also see what happens and what leads Maul to where we see him coming in at the end of season 2 of Rebels. I think that would be a really fun thing to see. Again, it's all about that connective tissue, because it's all right there in front of you. And I think it would be such a shame if they don't do something with it, because I think that would be such an interesting world to kind of open up to. I think that was one of the things that, back in the day when Lucas was working on that Underworld show, that we actually got to see test footage of at the beginning of this year. That was one thing that everybody was really excited to see, was the dark side of Coruscant, that part that nobody talks about, the greedy side of it, and, and all of that. And I think doing this Crimson Dawn series it wouldn't be Coruscant, but it would, or at least not solely Coruscant. I mean, you could do stories where characters go to Coruscant, I suppose, but it would be about this organization and whatever Dryden Voss wants to do, up until where, he gets killed by Kira and, Solo. So I just think that would be really cool. I would love to see more with Dryden Voss, because again, he's such an interesting character, and plus that tag at the end of Solo with Kira and Maul, it's just asking to be, played with, there's just, I can imagine the sandbox that you could be working with that. You could virtually do almost anything, and I would be really interested to see that. So that is the first series. Let's move on to the next. So the next series that I really hope that Disney will get around to doing at some point is a series that I am tentatively calling Star Wars Rise of the Sith, which you may be asking, well, what is that? That is a young Palpatine series. So this is actually a subject in the Star Wars universe that I actually did a little bit of digging into Legends, because it is one of those things where it's like, on one hand, you don't want to humanize a villain to the point where you're like, oh, I feel sorry for him, like, oh my, like, he had a horrible life, like, Jesus, we'll see, he's not bad, he's just misunderstood, a la Maleficent. That's another video for another time. But I think it would be really interesting to see the origins of Palpatine and see where he came from. And in Legends, there actually is this whole thing about, his father being this really reputable senator on Naboo. And I think, one of the things I read was, how I don't remember whether it was a family member of Sheev's or if it was him himself, and how he lost basically the election of Naboo to Queen Amidala, and how all of that leads to the events of Phantom Menace and the Trade Federation, because Palpatine has his hands in that Trade Federation and that blockade that we see at the beginning of Phantom Menace. And something that I was always curious is because not to give too many spoilers about Leia, Princess of Alderaan, but we know with Leia being the daughter of the Organas, Bail Organa and his wife, part of the book, actually a big portion of the book, is Leia being sent off to this place where children of political figures basically go to learn politics and how it's run on different planets and systems, and how to work with each other, and all of these different things that go into being a leader. And I think it would be really interesting if we have this 6 to 10 season series where at the beginning we see this really young Palpatine, and I have some ideas for casting, which I'll get to in a bit, but let me set up kind of like what I have in my head as far as story first, and some of this is pulling from myself and so just in my own head, and some of this is pulling from stuff that I read on Wikipedia and just stuff that was in Legends. So this is all just sort of amalgamation, which I don't understand why you couldn't make work with canon now. So I really see this series starting off with the first thing you see is young Sheev Palpatine, who I, in my mind, see being played by Winslow Fegley, who is such a great young actor. I think him and his brother, his older brother, which we'll get to him as well in a bit, are just two young actors that I think, if they keep going the routes that they're going, they're going to be really, really great actors by the time they reach adulthood. I can't wait to see how their careers go. But imagine, like, the show starts, you see the shuttle going off to whatever planet, and you see young little Sheev Palpatine, and his father, maybe played by, let's say, Sean Bean, right? And they're, he's on his way to going to this planet, to go learn the family business, right? To go into politics, just like his older brother did, and just like his older sister did, and probably what his two younger twin brothers might do as well one day. But he doesn't want anything to do with it. That's not where his heart lies. And him and his father especially have a very tumultuous relationship, which really comes into play because while Palpatine is at this camp or this training center for young politicians, that's when the almighty Darth Plagueis gets into his ear. And as the years go by, and as he keeps going and learning about politics each year, and as he grows up at this, academy, if you will, Palpatine just gets into his ear more and more. And this is where Oaks Fegley comes into place, because, you could do 1, 2, 3 seasons with, with Winslow, right? And him playing young Palpatine, But then you need a kid that's a little bit older, that can play, like, the older stuff and the more kind of mature stuff, now that Palpatine really has been, kind of turned by Plagueis, right? And so now we're getting into this point where, now, the Academy has ended, but Plagueis is still in Sheev's ear, and he's going back home to Naboo to be with his family. And, when we go back, we get to really see his relationship with his family and the beautiful relationship that he has with his sister, which is great. And he has a really pretty good relationship with his older brother as well. But maybe he has, or maybe he has a really bad relationship with his older brother, but he really has a good relationship with his younger twin brothers. There's got to be that sibling bond that he really connects to because of what happens later. Because then at some point, maybe a couple seasons later, so now we're 4 or 5 seasons in, now we're getting to adult Palpatine, which we're gonna bring in the actor that actually played the Palpatine clone, or the son of Palpatine, in Rise of Skywalker. His name is Billy Howell, because I figured, like, you know, if Disney is really making this canon, and this is who they're saying is like a clone of him, well, obviously Palpatine is Palpatine, and, you know, it's gonna look like him no matter what. So, like, let's just make it so. You know, let's bring back Billy Howell, and let's actually show his acting chops and what he can do. And so, you know, we've got these first 3 seasons with little Winslow, right? And then we get a couple more seasons with his older brother, Oak's, kind of taking on the role, doing a little bit more mature stuff. Maybe he has a love interest that fails. Maybe, you know, we start seeing his life really going down this road that's going dark. And depending on what you do, you could go one of 2 different ways. You know, you could either really show young Palpatine as this teenager who kills his family. You know, I was reading, you know, all this Legends material online, and one of the things that really stuck out in my head is this image of Palpatine going and killing his family. You know, he starts with his father, obviously, who he absolutely hates and doesn't have this great relationship with. That's easy. And then he kills his mother, and that's a little bit harder, right? And then he kills his brother. That's a little bit harder, you know? And he kills his sister, which he loves us both, and that might have been the hardest in some ways. But then he gets to his young twin brothers, like, you know, these kids who look up to him, and with tears in his eyes and this broken soul, he has to do it. He has to kill him if he wants power, if he wants to do what he wants to do and bring, well, this is what's got to be done. And I think what would be great is we know that at some point, you know, the Gungans start to have like this really bad relationship with the people on board, which is why they don't come to land as much. And what if this scenario is created where the Palpatines, where Sheev himself starts planting the seeds that Gungans are the enemy, you know? And what if one of the things that he kind of does is he kills his family and he blames it on the Gungans? And that's why, you know, one of the major reasons why the Gungans go into hiding and the people above land don't see them as much is because they have been blamed for a major murder in a very wealthy senator on Naboo. And then we transition into adult Sheev, played by Billy Howell, right? But then what I think would be really cool is for the last season, you only have to do 1 season, you know. We fast forward years and years later, right, to when the election, to when a election at Naboo is taking place, and we bring in Ian McDiarmid one last time to play Palpatine, and we sow the seeds for what happens in The Phantom Menace. I think this would be such a great story. It would be really dark. It would definitely be the most mature or adult thing that, you know, that Disney has done. But you don't have to make it sadistic, and you don't have to make it, you know, like you're glorifying violence. But it needs to be sinister, and it needs to be evil, and it needs to have this eerie sense about it because of who Palpatine is. I think this would be a great series, and I think this is something that a lot of Star Wars fans would love to see, is to get to see Darth Plagueis on screen. I think, you know, Tobin Bell, who was really made famous in the Saw movies as Jigsaw, I think he would do a great job of playing this Darth Plagueis character. But I don't know, you know, this is just, you know, one idea that's in my head. I think that this would be amazing. I really want to see this. Maybe not exactly like I've, you know, lined out here, but to some degree, I would really love to see Disney do this. So that's my idea for quote-unquote Rise of the Sith, the story of young Palpatine and him rising to be a Sith Lord. So what do you guys think? Let's jump into the next story idea. So the next series that I would really love Disney to do would be a Knights of the Old Republic series. And look, maybe they don't call it, Knights of the Old Republic. Maybe they call it, Republic Knights. Or Knights of the High Republic, right? Who knows? But I think it would be so much fun to see, this prequel era part of Star Wars. Maybe we do get to see the Revan story actually play out, And it would totally be like Star Wars meets Game of Thrones. Complete epicness. You could get this, 4, 5 season, maybe 10 season, arc of just all of these different characters, all of these different things, and the just amalgamation of just all of these different things. I mean, think about all the different things that happen in Game of Thrones over the course of 8 seasons, right? There could be so many things that happen in the series. We could see Coruscant, we could see Tatooine, we could see planets that we hadn't even seen before, we could see Takadana, we could see Batu, we could see so many different things in the series. We could get new characters, old characters, we could bring in characters from Legends. There's so many great ideas you could do. I mean, how cool would it be if we made Mara Jade canon? She might not be with Luke, which I know that's something a lot of people want to see happen, but we could bring her badassery, on screen. Maybe instead of her working with, the Emperor or something, or the villains, and then being turned by Luke, we get to see, like, maybe she starts off as like a Sith and she's working with Revan at some point, or another fact of bad guys, and it's maybe our Jedi heroes. Maybe one of them is the Luke that turns her to the light side of the Force. There's so many different things that they can play with. I think this is such a no-brainer, especially with them doing all this High Republic stuff. You've got to do some sort of Republic Knights, Knights of the High Republic or Old Republic type show. Again, I think it's another one of those things that is just begging to be made. Come on, Disney. You know you want to do it. Just pull the trigger. Pull the trigger for all of us. Alright guys, there's really not much I have else to say for this concept, so let's just move on to the next one. So, I think universally, we can all probably agree that one of the best characters that's in Star Wars, and that has been, for the most part, so incredibly underused, is the character of Qui-Gon Jinn. What I propose, and what I would love to see, is a young Qui-Gon Jinn / prequel era Jedi Academy type show. I think it would be really cool to see him being trained by Dooku, and then eventually seeing Dooku leave, and him getting trained by Yoda, and seeing him sort of grow up. And look, I'm not opposed to this being animated. It could be animated, it could be live action, it doesn't matter to me. I think this is a character that is so sorely underused. There's so much that could be done with it that is just not. As a kid growing up, back way before Disney bought Star Wars, one of my favorite book series was actually the Jedi Apprentice books, series, and seeing Obi-Wan being trained by Qui-Gon and their relationship and everything, and learning more about Dooku and Qui-Gon and even Yoda as well, and why Qui-Gon was the way that he was, and what that relation really was like, and made what happened in Phantom Menace mean so much more by the time you get to the end and Qui-Gon is killed by Darth Maul, because you know how much he means to Obi-Wan. And I'm going to come back to that note a little bit later, but it just astounds me that you get an actor like Liam Neeson, who is just absolutely brilliant, and you bring him in one movie and you completely kill him off. And you can say the same thing about Darth Maul as well. Darth Maul, looking back, really should have been the main villain of the entire, trilogy, at least to some degree. Forget Grievous. Grievous was kind of cool or whatnot, but I don't understand why certain characters were kind of dealt the hand that they were given. Now, I think over time, the Maul situation has definitely been fixed. I love what George did with Maul in the Clone Wars, and I love what Filoni did with him in Rebels, and I loved seeing him in Solo, and I've loved what I've read in the comics of him so far. But when it comes to Qui-Gon, we still haven't really gotten that fix, and Phantom Menace and Master and Apprentice the book is really the only thing that we've really gotten canon-wise with Qui-Gon. Yeah, we have that one comic book, and it's good, but it's one comic book, guys. This character deserves so much more. I would love to see what him growing up was like in the Academy, and what made him the way that he is. Because, he was really one of these first Jedis, him and Dooku, to really question why the Jedis did what they did, and not just go along with like the established order. And I really want to see why. I really want to see what his makeup was like. And it doesn't have to be a long series. You could easily do just 3 seasons or 4 seasons, just in and out, like a Breaking Bad, But I think it would be great to see this character a little bit more, and to see what he was like prior to the events of the Phantom Menace. So, what do you guys think? Is this something you want to, guys? If you want to see it too? So yeah, let's move on to the next concept, shall we? So the next thing on the list that I would really love to see is a continuation of the Solo Star Wars story. That was weird to say. But yes, that's what I would like to see. And I really don't know that I want a movie. I think the best way to see these characters again, primarily speaking of Alden Ehrenreich as Han and Chewbacca, is a series. Let's get a 3-season arc that leads up to the events of A New Hope. Let's see him do that mission for Jabba that they allude to in the movie a couple times. Let's see some other adventures that he goes on. Let's really see what got him in so much trouble that he got put into carbonite for. I think it would be really cool to see, and I know a lot of people don't want to see it because there has been this tendency to kind of get rid of all of the mysteries that are in Star Wars, and it started with George long before Disney ever got a hold of it. A lot of us remember the first time we saw Jabba the Hutt was in Return of the Jedi, and then the special editions came out and he digitally put in Jabba in A New Hope. So now there was no mystery of who this Jabba the Hutt guy was, that Han was really afraid of, and Greedo talked about, and so I understand there's a lot of fans that don't really care for that type of thing, but I think in this case it can work if they do it right. And Solo Star Wars Story was a great little movie. I just rewatched it the other day, literally a day ago from recording this, and man, I gotta tell you, I enjoyed it more than I ever have. I forgot just how much fun the movie was, how much I love these characters, and going back to my Crimson Dawn section, something I didn't talk about, but I would love to see more with Tobias Beckett. There was just so much in that world that was just so cool and so much fun that I definitely would love to see a continuation of it. We already know that Disney is trying to get a Lando series up and going with Donald Glover, so why not do a Solo series as well? I think it would be a perfect way to tie up this story with a nice little bow that just runs in right into A New Hope just as seamlessly as Rogue One does, if they do it right. And I think they can do it. I think if they put their heart and soul into it, I think they can. They've proven that to me with other things that they have done, and I think they can do it, and it's something I really want to see. What about you guys? let's move on to the next project idea. So the next project idea is actually something that's already in canon, and it's already something that exists. It is a novel, and it's Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray, and it is absolutely one of the best novels that I have ever read. It brought me to tears. It moved me so emotionally, seeing the relationship between Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan. And honestly, the reason I'm putting on this list is, you know what, I want to see it in animated form or in live action, because damn it, it's just that good. You know, I'm not saying this because, you know, the book can't stand on its own. Me saying this is me saying, no, it's that good, guys. Like, this is just crying out to be made visually, because there's so much heart into it. And let me tell you, out of the few authors that I've read from that have written books for the new canon Star Wars material, Claudia Gray has by far done the best. Claudia Gray knows these characters ins and outs and is able to move me in a way that I didn't know I could be moved by Star Wars with. And that's why I want to see this retold in visual format. Now, you may say, well, you know, they're never going to do that. Probably not. But, you know, we have the Tarkin novel, but they also made Tarkin a comic book, you know, and they really, you know, expounded on some things that they really weren't able to in the novel, because the novel is just a bunch of words, you know. And same with Thrawn, you know, they turned one of the Thrawn novels into comics. And so if they're willing to do that, why wouldn't they be willing to do this? I don't know. It might be a long shot. I might not ever get it, but this is what I want, and I think Disney would do a great job if they choose to do it, especially if they put somebody like Jon Favreau or Filoni in charge of the project. So what do you guys think? Let's move on to the last two project ideas. So here we are, guys. The end of the video. These are my last two ideas, and they're going to be somewhat pretty brief, because they're just concepts. They're just things that I want to see, and there's really, you know, not much to it. So let's start with the first one, which is the topic that I'll probably speak the least about, and that is the planet of Batuu, which Disney created as the theme park that we visit at the Disney parks. You know, it has appeared in a few novels, and I think maybe a comic or two, but it's really kind of stands outside of the universe as we know it, and they really haven't done much with this planet. And honestly, I really want to see a story that takes place on Batuu. And I don't mean like, you know, we don't need, you know, like a Gilmore Girls that takes place on Batuu, where the only thing we see are these like villagers that live on this one planet. You know, I'm totally cool if we do something like in The Mandalorian, where, you know, you jump to Batuu, you jump to Tatooine, you jump to here, you jump to there. I don't mean I need a show that is solely on Batuu. I mean, if they could make a story like that work, that would be great. But I just mean, I want to see Batuu in live action. I want to see Batuu really be a centerpiece for a story in the Star Wars universe, because I think what they've created is really neat and inspiring. You know, that they created this place practically from nothing, you know, seeing how they created it from just looking at pictures that, I forget the artist that did the concept art for Star Wars, but you guys all know who I'm talking about, but just looking at concept art of his, and seeing this picture and being like, hey, let's create this whole planet, you know, that looks like this, you know, and just kind of everything else sort of fell into place after that for them. And if for Disney, Batuu is supposed to be this really special place that they want people to get invested in, I think the way you do that is to have it appear in as much material as you possibly can, so that when you go to Galaxy's Edge, the theme park, it actually means something to you, you know? Like, let's see Batuu in a series that takes place between Last Jedi in Rise of Skywalker. Let's see when the Resistance actually stops on Batuu, you know, and they're recruiting people, and these people get taken by, by the Imperial force, or something, Let's see all of these mishaps and adventures that happen, in between, and maybe that's a place where Batuu can pop up at, There's just so many different things that they could do with this planet, It's also appeared in, I think, the second Thrawn novel, and so yeah, I just think I would love to see them do more with this thing that they've created. So that's Batuu. Tell me what you guys think about my ideas for that, and would you like to see more of Batuu? And my final thing that I want to talk about is going back to Darth Maul. I said I was going to come back to him, and here's where I'm going to be talking about him a little bit more. Sort of in lieu or akin to the Young Palpatine series is, if you go into Legends, we know that Palpatine went to, I believe it was Dathomir, and basically stole or tricked Maul's mother into giving him her child, and as a baby, as an infant, and then he raised Darth Maul to be the Sith Lord that we see. That's all in Legends. And, I haven't read much, there's still quite a bit of Darth Maul canon stuff that I haven't read yet. There's one of the comics that I haven't read yet. And I don't know if there's anything else that, he pops in as well. So we'll have to see. Maybe my opinions will change, after I read a bit more. But right now, I think something that would be really interesting to see, again, going back to prequel era material, is I would love to see a young Darth Maul series. And it would only have to be 1 or 2 seasons, it wouldn't have to be a very long endeavor, And it might sound really sadistic to some people, but, you can only imagine how tormented Maul was by Palpatine and those who raised him. Because you have to imagine that Palpatine probably didn't do the majority of the raising. He probably was raised by robots or by servants or by other people that Palpatine, put in charge of Maul's care. And so I think it would be really interesting to see what his child was like, and to see the abuse that he endured and what made him the person that he is by the time we see him in Phantom Menace. Because, he is definitely the villain and he is definitely the bad guy. But there is that side of Maul that you can't help but feel bad for, because nothing goes his way. It really is that Sith, I don't know how to say the name, but it really is dude pushing up the boulder up the mountain only to have it fall back on him over and over and over again. He just can't quite get the boulder up the hill and over the other side, I just can't do it. And we see this happen to him over and over and over again. And, assuming they close the gap in between Clone Wars and Solo Star Wars story, and the gap between Solo Star Wars story and Rebels, these are the last 3 gaps that we really have. And again, the one gap, it's not really a gap. We know when he leaves in Clone Wars, he's going to do more with Crimson Dawn. So really, it's just in between Solo and Rebels, and when he's a kid, from infancy to when we see him in Phantom Menace. And then that's it. We have covered Maul's entire life at that point. And as a fan, at this point, I'm like, just give it to us. Why not? Let's see this entire character's journey so that we really know him in and out. And I think that would be a fascinating thing to see. There's so many young, talented actors out there that you could get, or you could get a completely unknown to play this kid version of Maul. And it would be a completely new take on the character, I think, So that's what I want to see. So thank you so much, guys, for watching this video, or at least listening to it, because I'm sure a lot of you, because of me not being on screen, probably just listen to it, and that's totally okay. Although you've missed all the pretty graphics that I've put in the video, but that's okay. I understand. But thank you so much for listening. Please comment down below. Let me know what you thought of any of this. And just a reminder, I don't know how much I'm going to be using, my YouTube. I know I will be coming back at some point. Hopefully next year at some point. But the main place you can find me is my podcast, the ShuBox. You can find me on Spotify or iTunes, pretty much any of the major places. So go give it a listen. And hey, this is officially a YouTube exclusive. I'm not going to turn this into audio and put it on the podcast. So this is for just you guys who came here to give this a listen or a watch. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. And I will see you at the next video and the next podcast. Peace out, everybody.